Hello everyone, I'm Hugo Martin, PhD student at IRISA, and I will present you this case study about sampling effect on performance prediction of configurable systems. Configurable systems, in our case, are software systems that can have their behavior and performances altered by the means of options instead of needing to modify the code. Most modern systems are configurable, be it operating systems, database systems, or a compiler. The main advantage of a system to be configurable is that it allows it to be easily adaptive. With the options it provides, a user can tune it to match his needs at runtime. However, due to having more and more options, and by extent more and more interaction between these options, configurable systems have become increasingly complex up to a point where users, and even developers, don't fully understand how options and their interactions affect the performance of the system. In order to help users and developers on that rising problem, over the last few years, researchers turned to machine learning solutions. When it comes to machine learning techniques applied to configurable systems, we saw a major trend emerge in the form of a four-steps process. First, we take a subset of the configuration space as representative as possible. Then, for each configuration in the sample, we measure its performance by running the system or by simulation. Now that each configuration is labeled with a performance measurement, it is possible to use machine learning algorithm in order to create a model able to predict the performance of any configuration. This model needs to be validated by measuring its accuracy over a new set of configuration. Eventually, we can loop through these four steps in order to increase the accuracy of the model. Now I will talk about distance-based sampling of software configuration spaces, which is an article by Kaltenecker et al. Published in last year's International Conference on Software Engineering. It contains a major contribution to the configurable systems community by proposing a new sampling strategy, the distance-based sampling. In order to show the efficiency of this new technique, they performed an empirical study to compare 6 sampling strategies over 10 subject systems. About the sampling strategies studied, coverage-based sampling follows a coverage criterion to optimize the sample. T-way sampling, used in their experiment, covers every T combination of options, meaning that for T equals 2, each possible pair of options must be covered at least once. Solver-based approaches rely on a constraint solver and tend to create clusters of configurations. The randomized versions try to mitigate that clustering effect. The random sampling is used as a strong baseline as it is still a state-of-the-art approach. Then, the two sampling strategies brought by this article, the distance-based sampling and its derived. This approach selects a configuration having a certain distance, meaning a certain number of options activated, that number being determined by a probability distribution and renewed each time a configuration is selected. The derived approach, diversified distance-based sampling, counts the number of times an option is activated in the whole sample. When it selects a configuration, it enumerates all configurations with the determined distance and selects the one activating the options that are the least represented in the current sample. The experiment was performed over 10 configurable software systems. They have different sizes from a few hundred possible configurations up to a few 100,000. They also are from different domains, such as database, file archive utility, compilers or code optimizer. For each system, they measured one performance metric over all the possible configurations. Further into the experiment setup, they used a state-of-the-art machine learning based on multiple linear regression technique and feature forward selection, presented in Sigmund et al. Article Performance Influence Model for Highly Configurable Systems. To validate the accuracy of the model, they rely on the mean relative error, a standard metric frequently used in similar works. The results are interesting on multiple aspects. To begin with, both solver-based sampling as well as distance-based sampling are shown literally out of competition. Beside random sampling, the best results are obtained by either coverage-based or by diversified distance-based sampling. Coverage-based sampling is particularly efficient for low sample size. On the other hand, diversified distance-based is dominant for higher sample size. It is also worth noting that diversified distance-based sampling is shown to have an accuracy very close to random sampling and even better in some cases. However, we can ask ourselves one question. Is it true? In the domain of variability-intensive systems, there are a lot of dimensions that can affect results, and even if all dimensions can hardly be considered at the same time in an experiment, it doesn't prevent us from calling the results into question. And the best way to ensure the question is through replication. And that's what we did, partially. For this replication, we only considered one subject system, X264, a video encoder. As a reminder, the result of the original experiment reported that using diversified distance-based sampling gave a better accuracy than using random sampling. Back to X264, as it is a video encoder, it needs a video as input to measure any performance. In the original experiment, only one video was used. Here, we perform the measurement over 17 different videos. We also change the performance metric or the non-functional property. While the original experiment only considered encoding time, we also consider the size of the encoded video. So here is a summary of what does vary in our experiment: the sampling strategy and the sample size, the video to encode, the system configurations, and the measure property. On the other hand, some aspect doesn't vary. Learning algorithm and its hyperparameter, or the way it's tuned, the configurable software studied, the version, and the hardware. The red dots present the main differences with the original experiment. Blue dots are what doesn't change inside each experiment, but we can say that they are different between the two experiments, which can explain some differences between our performance measurement. Now come the results, and there are lots of numbers. This is the table showing the error rate for each combination of video encoded, sample strategy, and sample size for the encoding time performance. For every combination of sampling strategy and sample size, so here for each column, are highlighted the lowest value in blue and the highest in red. It allows us to clearly see the variation of error rate simply caused by the video influence. The highest value between 1.5 and 3 times the lowest value. We can notice some trends, such as a video generally giving good results and another giving bad results. We can also see the influence of sample size over the error rate. In most cases, the more data the better, as expected. In some other cases, that influence is far lower, and for solver-based approaches, it's even worse when there is more data. If we compare the effectiveness of sampling strategies and highlight the best results for each combination of video and sample size, we obtain this. Orange is for when there is a tie. At the exception of one value in coverage-based sampling, all the best values are for diversified distance-based sampling and random sampling. If you focus on the lowest sample size, both sampling strategies are almost equal. Each one is better than the other in the same number of videos. At medium sample size, random sampling is better in a large majority, but not for all cases. And at high sample size, diversified distance-based sampling can't do better than random, but can still give the same results in some cases. For the performance encoding size, the results are quite different. The variation between the lowest and highest values are at least twice the lowest values, and even at max 24 times. There is still a video giving generally good results, and another one with bad results, but they are not the same as for encoding time. Now, comparing the sampling strategies, the results are less one-sided than before. Almost all sampling strategies can be better than the others at least once, and there are a lot more ties. Yet, we can see that solver-based, randomized solver-based, and random sampling are dominant over the others. At the lowest sampling size, solver-based is the best, with randomized solver-based and random sampling not far behind. At medium sample size, there is a lot of ties and no clear dominant strategies, and it's kind of the same with the highest sample size. All in all, both distance-based strategies are the ones that perform the worst. Notice that corner case on video number 15, where coverage-based sampling gives the best result for all sample size. This is most likely due to its unique encoding size distribution represented here on the right. To wrap up the results, there are a lot of variations in accuracy depending on video and performance properties. For encoding time, we find results that are quite similar to the original experiment, at some exceptions. Random sampling is overall dominant over diversified distance-based sampling, and for lower sample size, diversified distance-based sampling is better than random sampling and coverage-based sampling. For encoding size, both solver-based samplings show up as efficient strategies despite their bad results with encoding time. Random sampling is also dominant side by side with randomized solver-based strategy, and if diversified distance-based sampling is not better than the dominant strategies, it still presents good accuracy on higher sample size. As a replication paper, it would be a shame if we didn't make our experiment replicable, so everything is replicable. The artifacts are available and have been evaluated reusable. The dataset for the video encoding time and encoding size for all configurations of X264 on all videos is available. We made a Docker image containing all the data needed and the scripts ready to recreate the performance prediction models, the results from our runs of these scripts, and the scripts used to aggregate the results and present them in the table shown in the article. What can we do after that? First, you can replicate the experiment to confirm or disconfirm the results. To go further, we should study the influence of versions and hardware on the sampling effectiveness. As the video used in the original experiment was also part of the set of video we used, we compared the performance measurement and found differences, and up to our knowledge, the only difference that could matter are hardware and version of X264, so we are confident that they influence the measurement. Another point we should look deeper in, and that was also mentioned in the original article, is the impact of machine learning technique. Different algorithms handle differently the data available and can be more efficient with a specific sampling strategy. Add to that the possibility of having a better tuning of machine learning algorithms, and we can prepare the ground for a better accuracy and maybe some more variability in sampling effectiveness. We also observed some corner cases where one sampling strategy overperformed considerably, probably due to the fact that the strategy was focusing on one of the most important features. It could be interesting to leverage this to improve our sampling strategy. What conclusion can we draw from this experiment? First of all, For x264 at least, the random sampling is still a strong baseline, hard but not impossible to challenge. The diversified distance-based sampling is a strong and more robust alternative to random sampling, but overall fails to match the accuracy provided by random sampling. We warn researchers about the influence of the inputs and the performance property measured when they compare the effectiveness of sampling strategies. In this experiment, we only considered a fraction of the one we replicated, but we enhanced it, and it offers us the means to question the results of the original experiment. In future works, we suggest to consider these two dimensions of software variability. Thank you for your attention. If you have any feedback, suggestions, or questions, don't hesitate to let us know.